Hey, good morning. Bloody hell, this is getting really hard now. So I'm expected to do real life things, get my cafe back running again. So real life story, I've come out of bin section. I've had a week off. I've always planned to have January off. And so I'm just doing absolutely nothing. Back to a routine of doing nothing. Just walking the dog, idling in between, playing the guitar, writing some songs, doing nothing. But what's coming, because I can't engage with reality. I'm finding it impossible. Because I want the big information to come out, and I want to just be dealing with the big information. I want to be having the downloads and us have a team working together on them as one species with the people who are getting the ideas. And there are loads of us out here who have all the ideas. Help us to express them to you so you understand them and then can incorporate them into your work. But there's a big paradigm shift coming first in physics, and it's to Osborne Reynolds, 1903. Submechanics of the universe is the only solution as a granular mechanistic system. Okay, but I believe now I can bring it down to the vial. So take the idea of Reynolds' mechanistic granular system, grains of rigid bodies, spheres. They can be normally piled or stack piled, as I call it. Right? So I haven't properly read Osborne Reynolds. I've just read enough to understand the concepts. That's the way I work. I'm not interested in the physics. And so you have normal and stacked piling. And so you can have, imagine looking down on this field of rigid body spheres. You can see it's arranged in two formats. Normal piles where there's a large interstices. They're arranged in a 4. And then stacked piling where they're arranged diagonally in the diagonals, filling up the interstices, and they're arranged at 6 around 1. So 6 rigid bodies around 1 rigid body is the piling mechanism. So you can focus in on a single hexagonal framed rigid body set of spheres, 7 spheres, and compress them. And they'll overlap to a certain extent, and they'll create the flower of life. Now that is a grain of the ether. It's a snowflake. So the compression is unique. The pattern is unique. The relationship between the bending forces and the ring tension forces are so infinitely analog that every snowflake of the ether is different. And now you can see you've got spheres, compression, overlap, relationship, relativity between meter and second, and you form has a thickness. So take this snowflake of the vial of the entity of the ether, and we breathe that mechanism. Those little snowflakes, we breathe them, and we invert them. The surface does the final transform in the moment of awareness. The fractal pop is the moment of awareness, the moment of consciousness. And that moment of consciousness has a resonance. And so it's a continuum. And so that the experience that we have, what it is to be, is a continuum that is the final clamping force to transform that creates all the mechanism. And that because all the mechanism exists, the moment of consciousness exists. Can you see it? So the whip cracks, snap. At the moment of snap, the energy of the snap is greater than the energy of the whip that created it. And so it goes back through, creating the mechanism that's necessary for the snap to exist. And that mechanism can look like anything, providing it makes sense. And you can join it all up. And so now you've got so that's the breath, the final transform, the moment of life. And you can see now the recursive feedback loop. And this is Luke Fibonacci's work of the uninstructed mind and the fractal mind and the stages of the construction of mind, which happens in each moment of time. So there's a pulse within the continuum of consciousness. And so now you could inject a spike into that if you knew the system. And this is how you know the system. So to Einstein, so take a snowflake, you're looking at it above, you've compressed those rigid bodies together to form the flower of life, but you know that has a thickness because they're not circles, they're spheres. take the center and draw a cube around it, a cubic framework at the top. So you've got it's long, it's a disc. From the top, it's a circle, it's a hexagon. From the side, it's long, it's a rectangle with rounded ends, isn't it? Take the center chunk out of that, right? The center sphere, and you can see that the top and the bottom have a relationship, and the sides have a relationship. Drawing a square, the cube around the center sphere. And that that sphere is now Einstein. That cube is Einstein. So take the cube out, and now you can see it's a hypercube, a tesseract, because at the center there's a twisting force that's twisting it together. So the coordinate system of Einstein's equals mc squared is the thickness of the vial of space-time, as they call it. So it's the thickness of it. So we're now analysing inside the thickness, using the physics of Dr. Victor Levy 1906, and as illustrated in 1915. So the twist of the hypercube. And it proves that the pyramids are natural. The Great Pyramid at Giza is a natural force-based product from water and stone, cement, causing a natural cement process, pore pressure under the hypercube at the center of the snowflake of the ether at the center of the planet. So the pyramid at Giza, the Great Pyramid, is the center of the planet, and it will be restored as its pure natural beauty when we wake up to this fact that understands linking Osborne Reynolds to Victor Levy, the 1993 PCA tables. Because it's a lie. That's the lie. So you can unpick Einstein if you unpick the 1993 PCA tables, rebuild them using Victor Levy's 1906 thesis, which is the theory upon which they're built. The statics of the containers, thanks Dr. Ing W. Levy. Whoever you are, push these PCA tables into physics, into engineering. And I've unpicked them using Augustus Edward Howe Love, who wrote a mathematical treatise on the theories of elasticity. In 1892, a friend suggested to Mr. Love that it would be fun if he wrote them. And so he records the whole history of the theory of elasticity, which is about the propagation of light, proving that the Earth's the centre of the universe. You can prove that, you can prove God exists, you can prove everything. So you can prove a mechanical system, and if God is in the system, if God is in the machine, then God is the machine. So God creates this machine through the intellect of the species that are aware of the snowflake, of the veil, of the ether as they breathe it in. And you give thanks to your God at the top of every breath, the watcher. Thank you, God, for this moment of experience. And just keep doing that as your practice. Based on this information that I've got for you, and the future has begun. Can you see it? Augustus Edward Howe Love, 1892. Next chapter.